Pleasure being here. My name's Mark McCurdy. I run the nonprofit Career Coach, and one thing I really love is to talk with individuals that are, I call it kind of in the trenches, doing the work, and lucky enough to be sitting here with Kerry Connor with Jumpstart, where I've had the opportunity to also volunteer and work with. So it's a pleasure to be here, and so Kerry, why don't you talk more about Jumpstart, because you do a better job than I do.
Well, thanks so much, Mark. I am Kerry Connor. I'm the National Recruitment Manager here at Jumpstart. Jumpstart is a national nonprofit organization that focuses on early intervention and the power of early intervention. We place older adults to work one-on-one with at-risk preschoolers, and the idea is to get them caught up to speed on language literacy and social skills from the get-go.
One thing that really kind of caught my eye about what you guys really do is not only get engaged with folks on campuses, but also engage with people in the community. And certainly for me, I got engaged on a few different levels, but one which I was really excited about was Read for the Record, where I really got to come in and be part of it. And I think it was really special for me, and I know the other volunteers that was with was extremely special. So maybe just to talk a little about Read for the Record.
Absolutely, and I was lucky enough to take the day off from work, but still actually at work this year, and volunteer at Jumpstart's Read for the Record as well, which is a campaign to raise awareness around the need for early childhood education. So we have children reading with adults. It's all happening on the same day. I believe this past year was October 8th, and we're going to do it October of next year. And there are events, I believe there were 1,100 across the country last year. Perhaps even more. That could have been the previous year. But the idea is just to get people out and get them involved.
How did you find Jumpstart and decide, literacy was really something for you that spoke to you?
Ironically, I learned about Jumpstart through NBC Today Show. The former senior vice president, Rob Zeski, was on TV talking about the campaign.
Okay.
And education's always been something that's resonated with me. I grew up in Savannah, Georgia, went to public school. I was fortunate enough to be in a magnet program at the high school that I was at, so I had pretty good courses day in, day out. But I went to a school that, to say education was poor, wouldn't be strong enough. Most of my peers in my grade didn't even actually have much instructional time. There was so much disruption. I never really had a 5th or a 6th period because there were bomb threats every day. There were, unfortunately, shootings at my school. So I actually was pulled out and started going to college early on. And I was fortunate to have this because my parents had started reading to me early on, and certainly had been very involved in education, but I knew that I was lucky and that everybody didn't have early interventions, and they didn't necessarily have value education from the get-go.
Given the the experiences you had growing up and how education's played a part, I'm just wondering if there have been any other kind of major instances in your life where you just said, whether it's family or friends or otherwise, that have kind of touched your life again to say, man, this is really important to me, and I really want to be engaged in this at a deeper level?
That's a great question, and the honest answer is, there are stories every day. There's a reason every day that I come across why I want to be in this work. It could be hearing some of the staggering statistics that the number of prison cells is projected based on 3rd grade literacy rates. I mean, these things are so astounding to me that it makes me every day want to be working on big, bold, and audacious ventures that try to prevent children from falling behind. But to hear the good stories too. I mean, It's not just the bad stories. It's the story of a mother who calls to thank us because her child is reading or spelling his name, or the father who gets up at our annual benefit and tells a story about how great his son is doing now, and he's 8 years old. And I think that understanding, there's stats, and the statistics tell us that our program does create statistically significant gains. But for me, that's not as powerful as the real stories, and those are the ones that hit home.
Curious to dig in a little bit more to really your position, and to say, recruitment, again, how did that come to be? How did recruitment come to, was it they kind of came to you? Was it you came to them, or a combination of the two, or how did that happen?
I think it's really difficult because whenever you're looking forward, if you're trying to plot out your career, it's very hard to make sense. But when you're looking back, I think it does make sense. You can connect all the dots.
Right.
So when I looked at Jumpstart, I saw a lot of opportunities, and I thought, recruitment, I can recruit people. I'd never done it before. Didn't know a lot about it, but I do like to talk. I've lived in a lot of different countries, and I think that I just enjoy hearing other people's stories. And in some ways, that's what recruiting is. It's learning about people. And I also see it in many ways as kind of career coaching, helping them, guiding them, and finding the right fit. So I enjoy that part of my job. I don't think that I saw myself in talent management growing up. I think maybe I actually aspired to be a teacher, was one, or a doctor.
How about suggestions for those who might be watching that are looking to make could be transition, or it could be that they've been working in a different sector, and let's say particularly, for what you all are about as far as literacy and early childhood education, what would the recommendations be for someone that wanted to be, get engaged in the sector?
I think that the mission needs to resonate with you.
Definitely.
And I oftentimes hear people say, I want to make a difference. That's not enough.
Right.
I think that people need to understand what their hard skills are, what their soft skills are. I think that they need to understand why education resonates with them, and more specifically, break that down. Is it the charter school movement? Is it education reform? Is it education policy? Is it early childhood education? I think that really being able to speak on why a specific mission is important to you is the first step, the first hurdle. I think that people should be prepared to be flexible and adaptable in this sector. Things are quickly changing, and I think we all have to take on an all-hands-on-deck type of role, or at least in organizations that aren't extremely large. They might be more specific roles, I think, at organizations like Teach for America. But there are a lot of great opportunities, and I think that there are people who've had careers in the corporate sector who could very easily transition over. We just hired our Chief Operating Officer, who was formerly the International Chief Operating Officer for Dunkin' Donuts. So he's somebody who's got very good finance skills, he's overseen human resources, technology. Right. Being a good leader, being a good manager, that's the kind of stuff that translates over very easily. For entry-level folks, I would say that I'm always looking for people who are coachable. And I think if you find somebody who's got a good attitude and they're coachable, then they're able to go into nearly any role. So I think there are a lot of generalists in this sector. I think it's important to be a generalist and be able to do a few different things. And I think also being ready and willing when called on to do something that's a little bit outside of what you might be comfortable with.
For those that want to get involved, whether it be, let's say, with your organization, Jumpstart, or perhaps another, what recommendations do you have for someone who says, yeah, I want to volunteer, I want to make a difference, but like you said, particularly on the job side, that's maybe not enough, but what would your recommendations for those folks be?
It's not quite the same as volunteering, but I'd say
Right.
for college graduate, or college students, try out an internship. I think internships are great ways to get your foot in the door, to provide a service over the summer, and hopefully learn a lot as well. We've got a lot of internship objectives that are really aligned with what a student's hoping to get out of the experience. In terms of those who just want to get a sense of what it feels like to work in this space, I know at Jumpstart we have opportunities, it's called a community core member, which engages community members in the work that we're doing. So we've got community workers that are community core members that are working 300 hours a year, one-on-one, or providing individualized attention to at-risk preschoolers. So I think it's a great opportunity just to feel like you're making a difference in the life of children.
Thank you so much for hosting us, and I certainly look forward to being involved with Read for the Record again and keeping the collaboration going. So really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We'll look forward to seeing you again this year.
All right.